Okay, so let's take a dive into the TCP/IP software module, also called the TCP/IP stack. It's called a stack because it consists of layers, and we understand now what layers are, just separated functionality. So here we go. We have the application layer, we have the transport layer, the internet layer, and the network layer. And the network layer interfaces with Ethernet. And Ethernet, I put Ethernet hardware and firmware because an Ethernet module is usually a piece of hardware with like a ROM chip on it that has firmware burnt into it and so on. And the network layer is able to interact with the Ethernet hardware and firmware to effect excuse me, the physical electrical signals that will be sent on cabling to actually send the data out. All right. Now, in the case of the Modbus TCP/IP network, the application layer is really the Modbus software module, right? And we saw that in the previous lecture with our arrangement. So here we have the Modbus software module, and what it does, it sends its Modbus frame or Modbus message, which will be, let's say it's a client and it sends a query. It'll send it to the transport layer. The transport layer would send it to the internet layer. The internet layer would send it to the network layer, and network layer will then convey it out to the Ethernet hardware and firmware. All right. So that is what the TCP/IP stack looks like, and all of this is really software, just software residing in the particular, in our case it's a PLC, but any device that supports Modbus TCP/IP. And the Ethernet hardware and firmware, I'll show you in some subsequent lectures what that looks like physically. I'll show you a picture of it, right? The Ethernet hardware and firmware, that it actually resides as maybe a plug-in card or a built-in module that is actually in the device itself. And it'll actually have a communications port associated with it, an Ethernet communications port. All right. So that essentially is our network stack. In the next lecture, we're going to see what the purpose of these different layers are, what they actually do, and why they exist in the first place. Okay. All right.